We want to have the business card. We want to have the logo. We want everything to be perfect. We ain't even sold one thing yet. You ain't even got a connection.
You have to have that audacity.
Yeah.
Audacity is the key word.
And that's the thing which from young I've just always felt like, yeah, like why not? And so again, even saying how it's funny, because sometimes I look back at stories like that and I think, do you know how like brazy that is that someone, because if someone could do that now, bring someone to my house and they're still there. But it's that audacity that I had at the time, and I still have it now to be like, nah, trust me, this here. But then the difference is having audacity and also showing people you've done your homework.
Yeah.
That's the key thing. That I literally was able to show him that, look, I know that you might think, because obviously these man, they're used to supervising PhD students, not some 18-year-old that doesn't know how to put a report together. So for him, that's even well below his pay grade of engaging with people like that. So for me, it's more showing that, look, I've done my homework, and then that's what inspired him to just be like, look, I want to support you. But through doing that report, because again, that same year, I also applied for a 3-year scholarship to study law. And one of the key things that really went in my favor, I didn't even have the grades. What went into my favor was the fact that he was able to do this report.
Yeah.
So they knew that if you can do this, though you haven't got these particular grades, that we can still give you the scholarship.
It's favor, bro.
That's it, but I didn't have the grades. Even when I looked at the grades, I want A's. I didn't have none of that.
Yeah.
But I said, you know, look, I haven't got that, but I've got all of this that can show you that, look, all those people that have those A's and whatever, they can't do this.
So like a year after this, or just under a year after this, the Kenny report comes out, right?
Yeah.
What are the impacts of it? Like, how does that kind of change your life as well?
So big time. So I did more reports. So up until I got helped me to secure the 3-year scholarship to study law.
Yeah.
So I did that for 3 years. During those 3 years, I also released 2 other reports, and those reports are on other topics like around housing, criminal justice, the education system. But then I would say the impact also had is like the report was also used in parliamentary debates, which for me was crazy. That they actually referenced in your report places like the House of Lords. So that was crazy for me. And then also a lot of local authorities and different practitioners using the research to be able to show evidence of this is what they're talking about. Students referencing the work as well when they're looking for people. So again, it had way more impact than I even imagined.
So how you do a report like? Come on, this is not a report like, or is it a report like a homework when you get signed assessment? What goes into doing a report like?
How long is it like how long does it take you to write and so on and so forth? How much?
So the first one took me about 9 months. But again, that was full of looking at data online, looking at other people's research, and then interviewing lots of different people so I can build a picture.
Yeah.
So the thing that really worked for us is that I was saying, look, there's all this academic research, which is great, but people don't understand it. So if I can make this more simple, so for Joe Blogs on the street to understand, then actually that will actually help people to understand this is what it really means.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that there's a lot of people who they're not speaking to, who I know I can engage, but won't engage with them.
Yeah.
And so I just decided, particularly let's look at something like criminal justice. If I merge people's lived experience with the academia, I can give people now the full picture.
And sometimes not sometimes, you are being, I'm just going to call you a brain box because that's what you were at the time, being a brain box and being an expert in that field, but also coming from an environment where you have a lived experience as well, you're kind of perfectly placed to merge those two together.
And because I picked a topic also that I had relevance for, and I did that very well, it then meant I could bring that same energy to different topics. Because people are like, I've seen what you've done around this topic. And also what I did, which was different, was instead of me focusing so much on academia and giving people insights, I actually gave people a story. So I had a big case study about a character called Harrow, and you follow his life. And as you're following his life, you also now see how all this social and economic policy is also affecting him. So actually, as I'm talking to you about different challenges, I'm also bringing it to life over here. So it's essentially, and what I realized, every time people get the stories, it tends to be half a page or a page sharing someone's story of how they've been impacted. Instead, I flipped that on its head and said, this needs to be as long or even longer than the information when I'm giving people insights. And so what people really loved was the story.
Importance of storytelling, isn't it?
So how does it become a company then? How do you make it into an actual
company? So the company is interesting. So I was in my last year of uni, thinking to myself, what am I going to do? And at this point, I had like things like Rare Rising Stars, #1, all this stuff. So again, I had all these opportunities to go and do all these corporate things that would have made me more money than I've seen. And I remember like doing the assessment, and I just didn't get matched to anything. Like no particular companies, no nothing. And I thought to myself, this is probably just testament that none of this stuff's really going to work for me. Because by the time when I was finishing uni, I realized there's a level of flexibility and freedom I wanted. Like just creatively to express myself. And also, to be very honest, I couldn't stand the fact of joining a graduate program and then someone who genuinely I thought I was more talented than is now going to be my manager. When actually with all the work that I've just put in, that I've shown people through these reports, all these other things, it doesn't make no sense. Now we're all going to join this company and all be graduates together. That's the honest truth. So for me, that didn't make no sense.
It makes sense.
And for some people at the time, they might think, oh yeah, that's arrogant, but for me, it's way more like, I felt like I put in too much work, that even a 60, 70k that I'm going to join this great company, 80, doesn't make sense because we're all going to be now moving at the same, it's long.
I get it. I don't think it's necessarily arrogance because from what I'm hearing, bro, you're moving like a professor, and it doesn't make sense for you're a scholar or a professor to come in with the graduates, and you're absolutely right. Like some of the work that you put into your research, it kind of doesn't. It makes sense for you to carry on with that than being under someone that went to uni and hasn't got the same experiences as you.
And also, even though I done law, I always knew I was never going to become a lawyer. But I never forget like doing work experience and just thinking. I'm talking to a partner saying, what would be the kind of stuff I'd do if I joined? And the task was so boring and I thought, it's not possible. I'm going to wake up every day, go to the city and be highlighting, looking for particular words because you don't trust the system. So I said, nah. Because sometimes people are getting is glorified administration. And that's just the truth. And so for me, it was more about, so I actually got into business so someone who saw a lot of the work that I did and loved it was like to me, look, I really love to hire you for this role. And I was like, do you know what, that's great. I love to do the job of the research that you want done, but I don't want the role. But if you pay my company, we'll do that job for you. At the time, there's no company that exists. Nothing
Audacity!
There.
Audacity, come on!
That's what they say about Nigerians though. They say that you could go to flipping Mushin and find the first man you come across and say, bro, I need help building a house. And say, I could do it. Come. That's what you did. You said, did you have a company incorporated at the time?
Nothing.
Say, pay my company. Pay me my team and we'll get it done. So what did you do? What did they say first?
At first, she just said, that's cool. Because she already had her own consultancy a long time ago in the past. So she's like, yeah, that's cool. And then and remember at the time, I think to myself, I'm finishing uni, someone's going to pay me 5 figures to do this research. I'm like, damn, this is great. So then obviously I had someone else who I worked with closely at the time. I'm like, bro, let's do this project. And then he's like, yeah, but he had no clue. The first meeting I brought him to was a client meeting because things had to move quick. And then someone else as well, I was like, look, you're great, let's just do this together. So all 3 of us essentially just were co-founders and we just started doing that work, bro. We were just up and down the country. They made us work for that. Like now, I look back, I'm like, well, that money was what I was charged now to do that. But at the time, it was brilliant. That was our stepping stone. Once we got that, we never looked back.
Yeah.
And we figured out so much things on the way. We paid for SurveyMonkey, all these things. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
Insurance, all these things, we just had to buy it as we were going on and then just make it happen.
But that's okay though.
That's fine.
I think that's so important to understand that. I think sometimes we wait to be perfect, right? We wanna have the business card, we wanna have the logo, we want everything to be perfect. We ain't even sold one thing yet. You ain't even got a connection yet. And it's like, actually, you did it other way. Like let me find a connection and then I'll build everything as we go along. We'll get the business name, we'll think of a name, and that can improve. We'll think of a logo, we'll do all of that. We'll open a business account, we'll do all of that when we know money's actually coming in.
Yeah.
And that's it. And also this is the benefit of when you're at home. So when you're at home, people don't rinse the opportunity you have at living at home. So for me, it's more like, look, I'll take the minimal. Like I remember me and Berthy, like, sometimes the money like we're paying each other is illegal, you know what I mean? Just to keep things going, but you just had to do it. And then also it's that whole promise of like, I'm like, bro, trust me, when we get here, we're gonna start paying ourselves this. When we get here, but these times there's no guarantee, but I've got full, and he's got full trust in me and be like, look, bro, we're gonna make this happen.
Yeah.
And so, but go, bro.
No, I was just gonna double down on what Iman was saying, what I often find and what I've seen is that sometimes when people try and get perfect first,
Yeah.
they just often never start.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? You focus so much on being the perfect business, like appearance-wise and having everything, you don't start. Whereas sometimes it's just the other way around, where you take action and then you build it as you go along. And I always say that we're always improving. As people, always improving your business, there's always better in it. So you're going to be on that journey of improving forever. So start off doing it and just keep on improving over time. I'm going to go back to something I said in the beginning, right? So, bro, research can be sold for a lot of money. But just break it down to me, like, maybe explain why they feel the need. What sort of
So I'll give you
companies have like the money to pay that much for research, and why do they pay that much for it?
That's a good question. So, well, a lot of companies have the money, but I'll give you an example of projects we've done. So let's say during COVID. So during COVID, we know that obviously everyone was having to take the vaccine, whether they took it or not is up to the individuals. But that's what the main ask was. So we would get hired by, let's say, a massive health foundation who want to understand why are people taking the vaccine and why aren't people taking the vaccine, and what are the particular reasons for that. And so they would hire us, and something like that could be a project of 6 figures, easy, a couple 100,000 people will pay to understand just why is this happening.
So like a health organization will pay to understand why people are or are not taking the vaccine.
Which makes sense, because then if you know why people are or are not, you can then play on the what's being put into the news, what are the messaging, what's the adverts that you're going to do, who you're going to get to be an advert. Because for example, if you know that, like for me, when I went to do my vaccine, there's a black woman, and I relaxed because I'm like, and I had a conversation with her. I was like, and she's like, I wouldn't do this. And the reason I'm here is that I know how we are suspicious about everything. But the fact that I saw her, I just took a breath. I'm like, I don't think my people will be doing this. Do you know what I mean? And it's sometimes you feel like the messaging is so important, but how are you going to know if there's no research? And you need to back it up. And you're putting so much money into adverts. You want to get it right first time, because if not, it's an expensive mistake.
And also, even with that project, which is interesting, is something like that, we also have to make it clear that our job is not going to be to help you to promote this stuff either.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because of the points that you mentioned. It's also about helping them to understand the genuine reasons why you don't want to take it.
Exactly.
Are you asking me?
No, not you.
But us as people,
And actually, and what we concluded in one of our studies was that, look, it's a big ask. It's a big ask to ask a community that have had particular issues that impact them disproportionately to not have this energy when it comes to those things. And now it's come to something that you now want them to be running and being at the front of the queue. It doesn't make sense. But again, it's our job to articulate something like that. Or let's say for like someone like, let's say Macmillan, the cancer charity, they will hire us to understand when it comes to diagnosis around cancer, what are the drivers of inequality, why some people are not diagnosed on time or early enough. They hire us to find out stuff like that. Or let's say, for example, let's say Uber want to do a campaign and they want to figure out how can we use our platform to do something that's much more positive. Or let's say, or even Tinder, for example, good example. If you realize on Tinder, which none of you lot should realize because you're married men, but those who are not, for example, they will use their platform to raise awareness around organ donation. Because they know people are already on there, so they can use that same platform to then tell people whilst they're swiping their life away, look, do you also want to, donate blood or organ donation or register to vote? So again, when we did a lot of projects around registering to vote, things like Uber was perfect, because it's like, when you order an Uber, on average you wait about 3 minutes. This is their wording. How long this is, bro?
This is crazy, bro.
But because it takes 3 minutes, that same time it takes 3 minutes to register to vote. So again, on Uber's platform, as you go on it and you ordered your cab, it can then prompt you to say, are you registered to vote? So again, stuff like this. But yeah, so research could be used for all sorts. Also, we do a lot of evaluation. So if you both have let's say you have a joint foundation that supports young men to get into sports. You want to know how effective is it, or you want to understand what's the value for every pound that's invested, what's the social value of that money. So if that means that less young men are, having to, let's say, go to prison or end up in the criminal justice system, in terms of mental health, that and physical health, if they're good places, that means less strain on the NHS. All of that is social value. So again, you can then argue for every pound people invest that you invest with this foundation, it brings back £12 of social value through different metrics. But these are all like different ways in terms of how you can do research. But I'm just giving you like
no, bro.
like
You're doing an amazing job because
why were we not
to hear it.
Why were we not taught this though? Why we not know this as a career path? Because like you said, like we should know that like there's money in this like because I guess one thing that I know that people always talk about is football agent. I want to be a football. If I can't be a footballer, I want to be a football agent because agents make money and and they do all the. And so I've got bare people queuing up to be football agent.
And we got an understanding of it.
And
do you know what I'm trying to say? Because for some people that might be a complex job description. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
The same way where I'm learning as you're talking about it. For our community, football agent is fully understandable, 100% comprehension. Sorry, I just had to jump in and say that. Go on,
No, but it's like this is I feel like some men are hustling backwards. Like this is the energy they're putting into certain. If we knew that we could set these types of companies up, or there was a pathway to understand, okay, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to study, and then you can go and do this, and not only make money, but also have a positive impact.
Yeah,
do you understand?
And that's big, and also even on a commercial level, let's say like one of our clients is, let's say, a FTSE 250 company. They have many shops on the let's say on the streets, and they want to know actually, should we change the name of these shops to be much more culturally relevant? They hire us, and you do the research to figure out what should the types of names be. So again, it's stuff like that, right? Or let's say a bank is looking at, okay, we need to get much more young people to make sure that we are their main account. So we understand this generation, they always tend to have multiple accounts, but we know we're their primary account, and we get them in from young enough. We also know that, therefore, they're more likely to probably get their mortgages with us. It tends to be the gateway for other products. Now, again, they can hire us to understand what are the different. So a good example, we got hired by, what's it called again? This body to do with accounting.
ACCA?
SEMA.
Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah.
ACA.
Is it? No, yeah, actually, I think it's AC. No, I think it's SEMA because they're both the opposite. But anyway, we basically got hired by one of them to essentially look at what are the future career paths for Gen Zs. So obviously, as an industry body, they need to know. Actually, it's the UK and America, because in America there's ACI, PA, something like that. So again, we did it with both of them, just to help them to understand why people are not picking accounting as a career. What are the barriers, and how can they help overcome those barriers? Now, they have to pay for that research, because again, you think about the longevity of them as an industry and as a body. You're going to have more people taking exams and going into the industry. And
those people are paying fees. They're paying fees to be members. And so you use those members' fees to make sure that you keep yourself a job, but also keep the profession alive.
Yeah, exactly. And that is like a real life project that we've done that. Again, so just a lot of it is just about, and even from the name Clearview, that's the name of the company, Clearview Research, all comes from, if you want to make a great decision, you're the Clearview. That's where the name comes from. That's how we come up with the name at the time.
Can I demonstrate my learning then?
Yeah, go on, let's go. Let's see.
Let's do it. Let me try and demonstrate my learning.
Let's see. You're gonna see bricks and tips insights.
So 3 years ago, TFL could have came to you and said that, look, we're looking to make a new line, and we want to name it. Basically, what they did with the Windrush stuff, basically. And we want you to understand how we can still make the line something that is culturally accepted, something where they feel seen, something where it actually feels like it's being like paid back, and we want you to do the research for it. And we got £300,000 for you to do that research over 9 months and deliver us the research. Is that like a?
Yeah, literally.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually happy that I've fully understood that. Basically, that's actually cool.
And what people forget as well, like the size of the projects ranges, right? So you can get someone who, let's say, like earlier today, I'm talking to someone, they just want us to get 3 questions they have on their mind answered. They will just pay 4K. They just want to just understand 3 questions, 4K. So they'll do that. But then you got projects like what you mentioned. Again, that could be much bigger budgets. So it just really depends on what you're working with. But yeah, as you said, it can be big in terms of the value of the work that you can be getting. So it's a massive industry.
Yeah. Can you give me a quick insight on the process of the research? Like, how long does it typically take? What do you kind of have to do? Is there any like weird and wonderful stories that you've had?
Do you know, it's the time it takes really depends on also how much money people have.
Yeah. And
so sometimes if someone, let's say at the scale we're at now, it really depends on how quick they want it, and also who's going to be working on it and at what level those people are. But projects can range from, like the one I just told you with the 3 questions, they're going to get all their insights by next week, Thursday. We just send it off today. So they'll get it by next week, Thursday. Whereas other projects, they can take 3 months, 6 months. So the projects all vary depending on the needs and also how big the budget is really.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's also about, through doing research, we've also built a lot of our work also around consulting.
Yeah.
So again, people who just want regular advice, right? So again, those retainers, so we have like our critical friend partnerships where people hire us to be their critical friend. So as you're running your business and as you're a leader, we work with your leadership team and your CEO and essentially help you to troubleshoot stuff through research and strategy. And people just pay us to meet monthly, troubleshoot different things with them, work with their leadership team. So again, that's something that's grown off the back of the business, training people as well. So training people in the community to know how to do research as well.
Yeah.
So again, that's another thing that various of our clients want. They want, so let's say we're doing a project around music. It's like we will train a group of musicians how to do the research.
Yeah.
So they'll gather the research, we'll help them to analyze it, and then present it back to the client. Now the clients love that because it's much more participatory. So again, they love that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's cool, bro.
So sometimes not even us doing it, so we're actually training other people
Yeah.
to also do it, and we're just managing that whole process. But again, things could last long. Even like the evaluation I told you about, we have one client, we're doing that for 3 years.
Yeah.
So every year we're just helping them to evaluate their program until it finishes and then go again.
And then before we kind of get to wrap it up, we have to talk about your MBE, which you got last year. Congratulations, bro.
You and your brother got
Yeah.
Is that separate years?
separate years, separate years,
Bro,
but back to back though.
This is insane, bro. Like, as an African parent, your mum must be through over the moon, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, she is, man. She definitely is.
Talk to us, how did it feel to get it? And then also, did you have to have that, was it a hard decision accepting it or not accepting it? Because obviously, as intelligent as you are, I can imagine you've read bare books on what's happened to us as people. And obviously you then going into the criminal justice system and how we're treated and the things that you've seen. Like, how did you come up with the idea whether to take it or not?
Yeah, so in terms of, so when I received it, it was more like, okay. I never really thought about how I would feel until I received it. When I received it, as you mentioned, I was very torn. Like, do I decide to take this? Do I not? And again, one of the things you mentioned was like family, right? So how would they feel? So I know my mum and different people, they would be very happy. So I'm not in one of those environments where now it's like everyone's going to be hostile because I've taken this. But then I'll be honest, what really decided it for me was much more to do with, in terms of the work that I do, and I mean separately out of business, put that to one side, but in terms of the advocacy work that we do. So again, we work in over a dozen prisons even now. This is separately to this. Through My Brother's Keepers, supporting men who are doing long-term life sentences, short sentences, who are trying to ensure we help them to transform whilst they're there when they get out. When you're doing the advocacy, if this can mean more for them, because I put in that reference to the judge or to their probation or whatever and be like, look, this is who this person is, and that carries weight because they got to see these letters, then so be it. I know that was really the core reason behind it. It's much more to do with, it's all well and good. It's not going to materially change my life in that way. However,
it could impact the work that you do and the positive impacts that you're having on people's lives.
Yeah.
Bro. So that makes
sense to me. I was here with you, and now do you know what I mean? These guys are recognizing me at the highest level.
Again, but it's also, when you are faced with those things, also about making sure that you are genuinely thinking about the wider impact.
Yeah.
Because personally, I'm fortunate enough where, like, I'm good if I don't have this.
Yes.
And I think it's always important to understand that, are you good if you don't have this? And then you can think about what I mentioned. But for me, it goes a long way. Like you mentioned, when you meet these guys and do whatever, for them it's like, wow, this is, you know what I mean? I was just like you in the band, and now you got this. And also, you see, like, one thing in my life, like a big thing I'm passionate about is making sure I live a life that robs people from having the excuses they tend to have. And I need to be one person that day to day as I'm living life, people now can't use this as an excuse. Because I've got this, I can't get this. And that's it. And so for me, all the time, it's like living a life that breaks that stereotype is very important. So it's much deeper than Yeah. So again, that's the thing. So even like the business side, all that stuff is fun and it's great. And I mean, as we talked about earlier, it's got its ups and downs.
Yeah.
But there's so much. It links back to what I told you earlier about the prayer around creativity.
Yeah.
Having a prayer about, and people genuinely praying like, what can I do that's different?
Yeah.
Like what you both do is unique in terms of your contribution to that space. And because you genuinely love it and you're in this for the long run, that's why it's great. All right. And we have to also learn as a community, just because we see people doing certain things, we could be inspired, but let that inspire you to do what you're meant to do.
Yes.
So again, I love watching you lot's content, but I've got no desire to tell anyone about this, that, property, come and I'll take your mic. I'm not going to do none of that for you. So again, we just have to learn to be inspired, but figure out what's our thing. Because what I can't do is when people are like, oh yeah, what you're doing is so difficult and so challenging. I'm like, well, no, what you're doing is difficult and challenging because you don't really love what you do. You have no passion for it, and you can't really see what's the long game in this.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'd rather be in my lane, suffering, than be suffering in your lane and not really knowing what's going to happen there. Because all I just see success is like, and with us is, in general for a lot of people, is climbing that ladder, and then when you get to the top, realizing I'm on the wrong wall. And for me, I never ever want to be in that place.
No, facts.
Yeah, man, I love that.
So that kind of brings us nicely to what we always ask all of our guests right at the end, right? What is the W and the L of your journey? What's the cream and the crust? I feel like we might know one of them, but go for it anyway. You don't have to pick.
That's right, because it's bread and butter, I'm going to pick. So I said I'll start with the L. Is the L?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big L. So I would say in terms of, I'm going to pick. Was it 1 or 2? What did I get?
Whatever you want, bro.
It's
your show.
That's fine. I wish it was. It's
your
not.
show.
It's not. But,
your team.
I'll say 1 L. I would say particularly like thinking about bread and butter is, in early days of doing business, being too reliant on one client. And early days,
we've all had that, man.
We really suffered for that one. I never forget having a team, and then this client, once they had financial difficulties, I now had financial difficulties.
Exactly.
And
we've all had that one.
Yeah, and I just remember being with like my business partner at the time, Berthy, and I was just like, you just sitting, just us two like this, thinking, right, the team's not even here, boy. And like, boy, now we're gonna have to build back again like when we started. So I say that really always taught me that, look, you need to diversify. And because I know that feeling, it's not about like, oh yeah, I hear about it. I know the feeling of feeling like I'm back to square one. I would say that was definitely the biggest L. But then also during COVID, like just before COVID, as soon as they announced it, all our pipeline literally went missing.
Crazy.
And I never forget during that time where I was still, in terms of payslip wise, paying the tax for my salary, but I wasn't paying it to myself. And I was like to Berthy to be like, look, how much do you actually need? Not this is how much you need, and just doing that, but still paying the tax of these payslips. We're now in like -12. And then I would say also for me, the testimony in that was just being able to still bounce back, right? And so even when I told you about that first year, moving from getting that first client in that first year of business, because we're going to be 10 years in May, from like 34K then to now last year, 1.4 million, to show you the growth and scale. And at that time of COVID, all our pipeline went missing, went to -12 in the bank. And just being able to bounce back. And a big part of that is what we talked about earlier. Half of the game is staying in the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
And whatever it needs to be, and even just linking back to the stuff you talk about, which has really helped us during the dire times, is we were always really good at managing money. That we never ever got gassed about spending the money like it's just there. 'Cause that's another thing, right? So when you never really had money and you grew up, and now I don't know, you might be getting 10K a month. You think, right, you got bread, and then now it's like 100,000, and this. But you have to remember, it's not your money. This is the business's money. And we were just so. I say the biggest W definitely like last year. I would say just generating that 1.4 million through the different work we're doing. Yeah, definitely big. And over the past few years, we've done several million. So again, that for me is a real, I said, a big W. Just turning that idea to something that genuinely looks after you. That's a big deal.
Well, I think that's the title episode. Half of the game is staying in the game. I love that.
I love that. Oh, you said it to me, like, it's true, bro. Just stay trading. Sometimes you have a year, just stay trading.
Forget making
just stay trading. Just
stay afloat.
Let's stay in the game.
It's coming back. It's waves.
That's it. Because opportunity. Because that's why I spoke earlier, I was like, last year, tough year.
Yeah.
But I said, last year, as long as we were putting one foot in front of the other,
Yeah.
the Lord is sending his manna. I get to the end of the month,
Yeah.
that's it, I live to see another day.
Come
Because
on.
all it takes is just, you get one email. That's it. And once I get the email,
It changes everything.
and you're
the
like,
craziest thing as well, they've been cooking that email, thinking about sending that email, strategizing within their own team
While
for
you're
6
the-
months. You
while
don't
you're
know.
suffering.
sweating,
You're
thinking,
suffering.
where's this
So the
coming?
email comes through, you say, Father, Lord, thank you.
That's it. And that's why you just got to stay in the game.
Facts.
That's always, anytime it gets tough, it's like, look, what's it going to take to stay in the game?
Yeah.
And a big part of that is linking to, for myself, I know what all my indulgences are. And so as soon as, if I know push comes to shove, they will go straight to the bin.
Bro.
That's been an amazing episode, bro.
Episode's been fantastic. I want to say number one for me, like I feel like you guys, we follow so much people out there, like so much Listen, go follow Kenny.
Kenny, tell me where
Because
you can find him, man.
because it's so important for you to understand, not just for you to follow, but you to hear these words and pass it on. Because there might just be a young person whose life is going to change just hearing this from someone that's been where they've been, or even walked in the steps that they think they want to walk in, and understand that look, there's a whole nother game. Like look, like I said, man just made 1.4 million legit. Man are doing things on the road. Man, they can't even make that illegally. Let alone if they make it, they can't even talk about it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the money's come, money's gone. Like we're talking about acting and making change. When you're gone, that research, people will still be quoting that research. When you search, your research will come up to allow people to be able to talk about certain things and be able to have confidence in certain topics. Your research will even form new research, will be founded on the research that you've done. Like we're talking about legacy, and these are the types of people that we need to follow and champion in our community. And man sounds just like us.
Yep.
You know, one of the maddest things is that more time when black men go this far, man don't sound like us anymore. They sound like someone else. Like man sounds just like us. Man use slang just like us.
That is so surprising.
Do you know? Like no,
He's making a point, though.
no,
He's
it's
making a point.
facts.
It's
Like
facts.
man hasn't changed. Man sounds just like us and doing it, and so it means that we are acceptable in these spaces.
Yes.
For you to get those contracts and you sound like us means that we can get those contracts.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Like that's one of the biggest things that whenever I see Bricks win, I'm like, if he can make that money, that means I can make that money because he looks like me. He comes from where I come from. So if you are in these spaces, getting awards, making money, achieving, like as inspiring, it means that the next generation can do the same. We don't have to change ourselves. We don't have to sound like them. We don't have to walk like them. We don't have to talk like them. We can be us. But like you said, find what you do best. Yeah. But I think more people have to follow you and follow your journey and understand what you do and support what you do, because it's not only just motivational, it's inspirational, and it's so needed, because everything is balance. Not every day we have to do shade borough. Not every day we have to do, like, you understand? Not every day has to be gossip. Like, actually, bruv, we're talking research.
Yeah.
We're actually talking the foundations for us. Like, why things should change for us. When my man is trying to get rid of D&I and all of that, like, you're bringing the reasons why these things are profitable, why we should be doing this, why people should be moving this way. So give them your socials and let them know why they have to follow you.
So give them your socials, bro.
Come on.
Give them, make sure you drop it properly.
Come on,
as well.
yeah.
Spell it for them. And let them know where they can find the book as well, man.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, actually, that's important. We didn't even talk about that, but next time. But yes, in terms of on socials, so on Instagram is Kenny.Imafidon. That's IMAFIDON, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. For those who want to really do work, just message me on LinkedIn. That one's important. But also, you can get my book, That Peckham Boy. It's in all great stores and stores that are not so great also. And hopefully you enjoy the book.
Amazing. Guys, thank you for tuning into the Bread and Butter podcast once again. As always, make sure you share this one. This is guys will agree. This is an important one. I don't really focus on the comments. I want you guys to comment as well. But this is definitely one you need to be sharing with other people so they can witness greatness as well. And we'll see you on the next episode, guys. Peace.